Hello and good afternoon. My name is Andrew Cardinal. On behalf of my brother Jimmy and I would like to thank you for joining us for a 20th annual Candlelight service of Remembrance. When our father started this tradition 20 years ago, he definitely never could have imagined we would be hosting it on YouTube Live. As a matter of fact, YouTube didn't exist 20 years ago. Our dad sought out to create something that could help ease the burden of walking down the lonely path of grief. The idea with this service is that even though we may have a feeling of being alone, we most definitely are not alone. Imagine you are walking down a path, pitch black. How would you ever know if there was another person nearby? You wouldn't. What if all of a sudden you saw a tiny flame? Then another to your left, then another to your right. You now realize you are surrounded by others like yourself who also thought they were alone on that path. You might start to feel a little better, a little safer, a little more hopeful. I want you to know that there are many others like you logged on right now. Today, we may be looking to others to light up the path because all we know is darkness. Tomorrow, we may be the shining light that others look to. Every day, we will remember those who will forever walk the path of yesterday. On behalf of my family and the whole Cardinal team, I want to sincerely thank you for spending this afternoon with us to honor those we have lost. In the midst of the sadness, ultimately, we are grateful for these people because they are the reason we prefer to light a candle than to live in the darkness. In a few minutes, a very special person named Sarah Brown, who is the celebrant of Cardinal Funeral Homes, will guide you down a path of hope, of memory, of kindness, of happiness, and of love. Be proud of yourself for taking the first step. If you don't already have your candle with you, now is a good time to go and get it while our musicians begin to play. Thank you.
The music is too loud, the lights too bright. The aloneness is too intense, and the nights too silent. A broken heart finds it difficult to beat, much less be filled with comfort and joy. So, let's light a candle for the memories, a candle for the tears, a candle that will warm our souls and support us throughout the year. Well, again, welcome everyone. As Andrew said, I just want to thank you all again for being here with us this afternoon. I know that for many of you, it was a back and forth kind of touch and go, do I watch or not? Do I participate or not kind of decision. There may have been a sense of anxiety that this ceremony might stir up some emotions and bring back some memories that are difficult to face. But I do want you to know that whether you are watching with us now or you're tuning into the recording at a later time, you honor us with your presence here, and you are welcome to engage and participate to whatever level that you feel you need to do. The holidays are a time for family. Traditionally, it's a time of gathering together, a time to bring everyone back to their roots, the home. As the popular song goes, it's supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year. But for those who have experienced a death, and for all of us who are experiencing the wide variety of different types of losses that have happened due to the pandemic, the Christmas music can often ring hollow. The lights are often too bright. Of course, many of us will be missing the various friends and family gatherings. And for those families who are able to get together, those can be so hard as well, but in a different way because of the empty space that your loved one used to fill. I know that each one watching here, we all come from a different, wide variety of different backgrounds and beliefs and experiences, but the defining trait that everyone here shares today is loss. For many of you, the pain is new. The loss is fresh this year, perhaps. For others, perhaps it's been many years since you lost your loved one, but there are still days that it feels like it was just yesterday. It's often in this season that we are bombarded with cheer and with what feels like manufactured joy, with those perfect holiday cards and pictures that come with the perfect holiday letters or posts on social media. It seems to me that many people were even more in a hurry to find that holiday spirit this year. I know that in my neighborhood, Christmas lights and decorations went up even earlier than ever, as many were seeking that shot of joy since it's been such a challenging year. But it's my hope here today in this sacred space that we just have a few moments together to relax, to feel zero pressure to be holly and jolly, to take a deep breath and just to allow whatever feelings or emotions that are coming up to just be, knowing that there are many people watching who understand some of what you're feeling. So, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to take the time to light candles, to remember each relationship that you shared with your loved ones, to hear thoughts and reflections about moving through the holiday season. We're going to hear some inspiring quotes and continue to be uplifted by some beautiful music. And it's our sincere hope that when we're finished here today, that the weight of the burden that you carry will feel just a little bit lighter as we acknowledge and honor the special people in our lives. So before we get started, let's all just take a collective deep breath. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. Bring your loved one's face to mind and think about a favorite memory or moment that you shared with them as we listen to our violinists, Liliana Mave and Maria Ibicevic, who are now going to play for us, I Will Remember You. The holiday season is full of lights. Those bulbs that we risk life and limb to hang on the house, the candles of Hanukkah and Advent, the lights wrapped around a tree. Every street light seems to be draped with red and green, blue and glitter. But for those on the path of grief, this time of year may seem dark, muted, without the sparkle of years past. So today, like I said, we wanted to give you a chance to light a candle for your loved one, and we're going to highlight each relationship so that you have the opportunity to participate in remembering your person and specifically how he or she was related to you. Just as we're joined together through the commonplace of having experienced loss, there can also often be some commonalities between those of us who have lost a specific relationship, whether that be parent, grandparent, sibling, spouse, a child or grandchild, or another loved one. After I speak to the specific loss of the relationship that you shared, I'll invite you to light your candle wherever you are. At this point, if you want to identify yourself as someone who has experienced that specific loss of that relationship, you are welcome to comment in the chat area here on YouTube and to share as much or as little as you'd like. Your comment simply might be just a simple, "That's me," or you may want to prefer to share some details around your loss, be it your loved one's name, how old they were, or some other random tidbit of information about them. Either way, when you're lighting, I hope that we can all be encouraged by the knowledge that there are others who are there with you in spirit, also lighting for whatever specific loss that you're mourning. To begin, I have a quote from writer Marianne Evans, better known by her pen name, George Eliot, who wrote this: "What greater thing is there for human souls than to feel like they are joined for life, to be with each other in silent, unspeakable memories." So first we begin by speaking to those of you who have lost a parent or a grandparent. Both parents and grandparents all have a role in lighting our path and shaping us. Parents give us roots and they give us wings. They bring us into the world, they provide a foundation, and then they give us the tools to find our own way in the best ways that they can. They're the ones who listen to our dreams, who wipe our tears and remind us that we are loved and cherished. We might have grown up and moved away, but there is still something special about picking up that phone and sharing our victories or our defeats with that special parent figure in our lives. Of course, family relationships are always complicated, and they were also challenging at times. But even still, we usually never stray far from the promise that home really is where the heart is. Losing a parent or a grandparent, even after a long and full life, leaves an empty space in our hearts. The phone rings. We imagine it's them. We think about the holidays past. We can't quite get the turkey gravy like moms, or there aren't quite as many Christmas presents under the tree. We miss them terribly. The mother who always knew the right thing to say or when to say nothing at all. The father who accepted you no matter what and who showed you in his own way how proud he was of you. The grandmother who always had your favorite cookies waiting for just you and made you feel like her day now was complete. The grandfather who shared those old stories over and over and over again, and now you just wish you could hear them one more time. That special mother-in-law who accepted you into her family as one of her own, or that father-in-law who offered you a unique relationship as a friend, as a mentor. And so now you can determine to take the best of what you inherited from this parent or grandparent in your life, the warmth, the support, the strength, the choices, the mistakes, the struggles, and the successes. All of them have formed you into the unique person that you are. Of course, not every memory is etched in gold, but ultimately, they are an unshakable part of your life. So the question becomes, how can we honor these parents and grandparents and impact the world around us in their memory this season? Well, perhaps you will give to one of their favorite charities in their name. In the past, I've encouraged people to invite someone new who's never experienced the importance of family, or perhaps whose families live far away, to come and take a seat at your table. Though now, of course, depending on where you live, that might be tricky. Maybe we can get creative though and invite them virtually. Maybe you'll carry on a favorite tradition this holiday in their memory, or create a new one that reminds you of them. Maybe you simply embrace your children in the unconditional love that you felt from your parent or grandparent, and in doing so, find a sense of comfort for your loss. And so, now if you lost a parent, a step-parent, a parent-in-law, a grandparent, or a parent or grandparent figure this year or in the past, please take the time to light your candle now, and then maybe share, if you like, in the chat room how you hope to keep their memory alive. Clara Ortega wrote, "To the outside world, we all grow old, but not to brothers and sisters. We know each other as we always were. We know each other's hearts. We share private family jokes. We remember family feuds and secrets, family griefs and joys. We live outside the touch of time." The relationships of siblings, they are both simple and complex, aren't they? We share a roof, sometimes a room, or even a bed. We grew up as close as twins, or we are separated by time and space. We share DNA, or we're brought together by the joining of two families. No matter what the family configuration, there is something completely unique about sisters and brothers. We know those deepest secrets that we promised not to tell, and we share a heart that hurts when the other has troubles or struggles. Let's face it, our siblings can be a pain, and they can be a delight. They can be brutally honest and or blindly loyal. Our siblings are supposed to be there forever, to grow up and grow old with us. They see the world with us, and they help us to make sense of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Learning to live without your brother or sister means finding a different set of ears who will listen to you and who will let you search for ways to live without that special person in your life. You're gonna miss the talks, the family gatherings, the wise words, maybe even the wise cracks. No one can keep you humble and grounded like a sibling can they? Perhaps in the season and in the coming months, you'll spend some time thinking about the holidays when you and your sibling used to sit up together all night in anticipation of the fun to come. Maybe you'll raise a toast with others, or sit by a warm fire with a box of tissues while you go through picture albums. Maybe you decide you're going to attempt to help your own children understand the power and the importance of appreciating their siblings, hard as that might be some days. But no matter what, we will always be grateful for the many gifts that they brought to our lives. And so, brothers and sisters, stepbrothers and stepsisters, brothers-in-law and sisters-in-law, and friends who lost someone who felt like they were a sibling, I invite you to light your candle now in honor of them. I miss you in the evening, dear, when daylight fades away. I miss the sheltering arms of you to rest me from the day. I try to think I see you, yet there where the firelight gleams. Weary at last, I sleep, and still I miss you in my dreams. The world is full of folks, it's true, but there was only one of you. Next, we speak to those of you who are missing your spouse, your partner, your soulmate, the love to last a lifetime. When a choice is made to join with another, the plans and the dreams are always focused on two lights walking down the path together. Whether it was a new and fresh budding relationship with lots of hope for the future, or if it was one of many years where you were at the point where you finished each other's sentences regularly. The relationship between partners and spouses is a singular experience. This is the person we chose to love. This is the person we pledged to share the good times and the bad, the victories and the defeats, the dreams and the realities of living day after day with somebody who knows you by heart. When a spouse dies, the list is innumerable for the things that you need to discuss, ask, consult, argue, or laugh about with them. You wake up in the morning and you still automatically make coffee for two. You pick up your phone 1,000 times a day because you just want to call, check in, text, say hi. You sit at the dinner table, aching to share the adventures and the struggles of your day. At night, maybe you reach across the bed, looking for that hand that will hold yours and tell you that everything is going to be okay. You might this season be remembering that there's no one there to hang the wreath or crawl in the attic to retrieve the decorations. Perhaps you're reveling in the memories of holidays past and wondering how survival is even possible through the holidays moving forward ahead. Part of the grief experience after the death of your wife or husband, best friend, critic, partner, lover, or antagonist is the daily inventory of what once was and is no more. Realizing the voids that are left by the absence of that second light, and gradually over time, finding new ways to fill in the gaps. The grief journey allows time to absorb what is missing from our lives and our hearts before deciding how to seek out a new path and begin to move forward. Each step will take you further from the acuteness of the pain now and closer to the gratitude that you have for all the memories you shared. And so now, we ask all of you who have lost a spouse to light your candle and honor your life partner as you whisper another quiet farewell. Again, just a reminder, the chat is open for who would like to use it. Thank you. A small life walked by, leaving footprints on our hearts forever. And now we speak to those of you who have experienced the incredible loss of a child or a grandchild. Children are nature's way of telling us that the world should continue. So when a child dies, the light goes out far too soon. Whether your child never received the gift of their first breath, maybe they lived for only a few days, weeks, or months, or even if they had the chance to reach adulthood, she is still your baby girl. He is still your little boy. No matter how long they were here, it's just never long enough. It is out of the order of nature. Parents are not supposed to have to bury their children. Grandparents are not supposed to have to say goodbye to their grandchildren. We're here when they come into this world. We do not plan on being there when they leave. And so, the loss of the child, no matter what their age, at the holidays feels especially poignant. It reminds us of times gone by, whether many years ago or just last year, of eager anticipation, the joy of discovery, the glow of innocence. We see those young ones with their eyes wide as they wait to tell their secrets to Santa, as they wiggle in anticipation of gifts and surprises. And it reminds us all over again of that place in our hearts that is forever marked. So, now, honoring the times that you shared are even more special and sacred, because it's the way that you choose to keep their lights alive in your lives. It takes a village to raise a child, they say. I think it also takes a village to mourn one. You don't overcome the death of a child. You just learn to live in different ways in the world. The loss of a child means that the family needs to establish the significance of that life, because they often didn't live long enough to establish their own place in this world. Each of you who have lost a child will find the best and brightest ways to keep their names alive. Perhaps this holiday you choose to honor your child or your grandchild by finding a child with whom to enjoy and share some of the joys of the season. Maybe you keep their memory alive by giving to your local community toy drive or sponsoring a child in poverty somewhere around the globe. You could simply find a quiet spot to sit, to remember, to journal, to cry, whatever it is that you need to do. And so now we breathe in a breath of gratitude for the presence of our children, while we breathe out the longing and the pain from their absence. And we invite each of you who have lost a child or grandchild to light your candle and honor your loss. No one can speak with your voice, say your piece, smile your smile, or shine your light. Nobody can take your place, for it is yours alone to fill. There may be some of you today watching who lost an aunt, an uncle, a niece, a nephew, a cousin, another family member, friend, maybe a pet, or another special person who left their handprint on your hearts. I invite you now to light a candle to symbolize their hearts, their passions, and the impact that they made on your lives. Finally, we wanted to take a moment to acknowledge all of the many losses that we've all experienced this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In Chapter 2 of Tolkien's The Fellowship of the Ring, the wizard Gandalf is explaining to little Frodo about the history of the ring and how the great enemy Sauron has returned. It is the beginning of Frodo understanding the role that he is accepting, which will mean massive challenges, certain dangers, and a great risk of death. It's in this conversation, though, that Frodo says to Gandalf, "I wish it need not have happened in my time," said Frodo. "So do I," said Gandalf, "and so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us." So here we are in 2020. I can't tell you how many times I've thought about this quote and related to Frodo. I wish the pandemic had not happened in my time, but here it is, and here we are, still in it. Some of you experienced the added layer of not just losing your loved one, but you also had to suffer the pain of not being able to be there with them physically in the days or weeks leading up to their death. Many of you were unable to gather your loved ones together for a funeral, a memorial, or a celebration of life, to honor them and to be able to be together to say farewell. Or maybe a funeral happened, but not everyone who wanted to be there was able to be there. I took the time to ask some of my friends and family, and even reached out in my Facebook world to ask them, what kinds of losses have you gone through as a result of COVID-19? As I'm reading some of these, we'd love it if you wanted to chime in and comment on a loss or two that you've experienced because of the pandemic this year. Some talked about the loss of their businesses and or the loss of income. People talked about the loss of routines and predictability, the loss of movement and energy. My one friend talked about the struggles of raising her sons with severe disabilities without the extra help from schools and from personal support workers. Many talked about how they are missing physical touch, handshakes and hugs, and even just proximity with people. Missing family dinners, crowded theaters, concerts, live sports events. So a friend said she's missing salsa dancing. And another one said, I've lost my marbles. And I'm guessing that was at least half true, if not maybe a little bit more, for so many of us can feel that way sometimes. I think the hardest thing about this pandemic, though, is that we have no frame of reference. We don't know when or how it's going to end. And not unlike the death of a loved one, there is that feeling like we're just desperate to find a light at the end of what feels like a tunnel that just keeps going and going and going. During the early months of the pandemic and the lockdown, I went through my own several dark nights of the soul, if you will, just like the poet St. John of the Cross put it. I began thinking about how the pandemic has affected all of us holistically, body, heart, mind, and spirit. I am not a poet by any means, but I attempted to put some words together as a way to identify some of the feelings that I know many others around me were going through and continue to go through in some ways, and then offer a blessing of peace to cover it all. So this, now, friends and families, is a blessing of peace that I'd like to offer for each one of you. Peace to the grieving body. When the mind cannot will it to move, when it struggles to slow the breath, when it aches for physical touch. Peace to the shattered heart, when the loss feels too heavy to bear, when it waffles between numbing and searching for something that heals. Peace to the anxious mind, when it reels with uncertainty about the future, when it's paralyzed with regret from the past, when it fears what it cannot control. Peace to the broken spirit, when the sun shines but inside feels muted. Peace in the middle of the dark and lonely nights of the soul. In the hollow and deafening silence, while wrestling with the great mystery. Grace to surrender to what simply is. To be still enough to listen to your grieving body, your shattered heart, your anxious mind, your broken spirit. May they all be blanketed with peace. You know, as I began thinking about it, the word peace could also be swapped for light. Earlier we talked about finding that light at the end of the tunnel. Instead of fighting and resisting, as we take up a posture of surrender to all that we can't control anyway, I think it's possible to find light in the middle of that. So I'm going to light this last candle on behalf of each one of us and the collective losses from the pandemic. And then we're going to take a few moments to remember each of our loved ones and think about the light that they brought to our lives. Well, finally, some thoughts as you move towards this upcoming holiday season. First and foremost, I truly believe that this is a time to take care of yourself, to mourn in a way that is meaningful for you. However you're able to participate in the holiday traditions, do as much or as little as what feels right for you. I don't believe that now is the time for guilt or pressure. Now is the time for embracing your journey, your right to grieve, and the importance of healthy steps. One of the healthy steps that you can take is to mourn. You know, I talk a lot about the difference between grief and mourning with the families that we serve. Grief being all of the feelings on the inside when we've experienced a loss, the wide variety of those different emotions, and mourning being the outward expression of those feelings. Grief is something we all go through. Mourning, not necessarily. And everybody mourns differently, you know, whether you're talking with a friend or even getting what's in out on paper. It's just so important to get it out. Surrender to whatever emotions want to come. Doug Manning, the author and speaker, and actually the gentleman who trained me as a celebrant, said to us over and over and over again during the training, the best way to get through grief is to grieve. There's no way over it or around it. We simply must move through it. Of course, in the middle of that, especially it seems around this time of year, I know that there are those well-intentioned friends or family members who don't understand, and they try to convince you that they know what would be good for you. For these ones, I encourage you to take the time to explain to them that their gift to you this season is very simple, and it needs no wrapping or bows. You can let them know, as Doug Manning says, you need the 3 H's. You need them to hang around, to hug you, now virtually, or if they're in your bubble, then physical hugs, I guess, and then to hush. So hang around, hug, and hush. Seek out those safe people who will walk silently beside you and allow you to express the full range of emotions that you need to. Choose those people who will light candles for you until you're strong enough to light one for others. And friends, that day will come. And when it does, I want to encourage you to give yourself permission to get well too. It doesn't mean that you don't love the person anymore if down the road you don't feel quite as awful as you do right now. We've heard the message of we are all in this together over and over in 2020. And as we've said here in our ceremony over and over again, I think one of the most important things that we hope that you take with you today is the truth that truly you are not alone. Your place in this community and with Cardinal Funeral Homes promises that there are hearts and ears available to you. A note from a funeral director, a session with your therapist, maybe a Zoom call with your friend. It all reminds us that our purpose here on earth is to reach beyond our own little path of experience and hold on to each other during the bumpy rides of life. So to summarize, you can remember these 3 words: permission, surrender, and together. Permission to do what's right for you in this holiday season as much as it is possible. Surrender to the grieving and mourning process and all that we can't change this year. And doing that together, reaching out to hold the hands of others in your world in whatever ways, again, that you're able to, as a reminder to them and yourself that truly we are not alone. Again, thank you so much for sharing your time with us here today. I'd like to offer you one final blessing, but first, we're just going to listen to one last song. Our violinists are going to come now and play You'll Be in My Heart. Thank you. final blessing as we close. We bring a simple remembrance, a candle in the darkness. May we go forward today with a small flickering of light in our souls. May we find that light in the midst of the dark nights, the kind of light that comes with that deep, deep awareness that we are not alone. Then, as we move forward in our grief journeys towards healing, may we find our own ways to be that light for someone else, the way that so many of our loved ones were that for us. As Leonard Cohen tells us, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. On behalf of all of us here at Cardinal Funeral Homes, thanks again for being here. Take care.